guys, this is Lovely with Lovely Esteem, and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about infidelity from a diverse standpoint, right? Because there are a lot of nuances to culture, community, race, nationality, ethnicity, religion. And there are times when it's not as cut and dry as it seems, right? Because depending on your culture, your community, your religion, maybe even your social circle, infidelity isn't the deal breaker, right? Maybe you are a person who has to maneuver through different channels in order to even address infidelity within your culture, within your race, within your ethnicity, within your nationality, because those are different steps, those are different levels. And when we add to that social circles, community, when we add in cultural preferences, when we add into that money, finances is what they call it, but in the real world we call it money. It may really impact how you address what you see. Let's not even now add in another nuance, which would be either your gender or your sexuality. When you start adding those things in, now we kind of start really niching down into the conversation of infidelity, because how you handle things from a very patriarchal standpoint looks very different than how you handle things from maybe a matriarchal point of view. Also, how you handle things when it is two women handling the situation, because maybe you have a little more emotional intelligence, sympathy, and empathy attached to that, maybe. Or how you handle things from maybe two men being attached to it, and depending on what level of emotional intelligence they were allowed to have as children, depending on what kind of sympathy, empathy, and just resources that they had with regards to their emotions when they were younger, being able to deal with that. Now put into it a heterosexual point of view in this patriarchal world that we're living in. It is not as easy as we think it is to talk about and to discuss infidelity. So remember, when we're talking about different topics, we're not referencing all people, because everybody has a different way of handling every situation. But when we're talking about infidelity, the overall tone seems to be that most people lose trust in themselves and others. Most people kind of have that moment of reckoning when they try to decide if they're going to stay or they're going to leave. Most people deal with grief and anger, denial, acceptance, depression, sadness, melancholy when they go through infidelity. I've yet to meet a person who went through infidelity at the very beginning and found joy or happiness. Now, you may find spaces within that area where you were like, I knew I wasn't crazy. I knew I felt something, where your intuition kept telling you to pay attention, but because of the person that you trusted, or because of the way you were raised, or maybe even because of your cultural, ethnic, social, religious background, when infidelity came up, you were really told to like put your head down and mind your business. Wow, that is crazy. But it happens. And that is where we really want to talk about just the diverse way that we should look at infidelity. I know that everybody is on the, we're just going to leave train, but everybody doesn't have the room to leave. Sometimes their social economical background really dictates what's happening. And me as an advocate, I'm not here to tell you to save your marriage or to get out of your marriage. That is something that a licensed therapist should do. What I'm here for is to really have these super deep conversations where we provide resources, we teach each other lessons on how we healed. We can come together in that commonality of what it feels like to have this deeply rooted betrayal cloak around us, and how do we get rid of those things? What do we do to help advocate for ourselves, our friends, our families, the people in our community who we come in contact with who have gone through infidelity? And what does that look like, right? And a lot of that, it really is, you have to pay attention to the context in which you're having the conversation, how open the person is that you're speaking to having those conversations. Some people don't feel comfortable with giving out their information. Some people, they have already tweeted it. It is already on TikTok. It is on the Facebook. It is out in the world. It's above your pay grade. So like, sometimes you got to learn when you aren't the person that's going to be the advocate. You aren't the person that's going to be the pseudo therapist. That is not your role. Your role here is to make sure that your friend or the person that you know doesn't go to jail. Okay. Everything else is providing resources. And that's what I do, right? I want to teach us how to learn to trust ourselves again. I want us to learn how to trust the people around us, trust our inner voices, learn how to find self-confidence again. And I don't mean self-confidence physically. I mean confidence in that trust that you're building for yourself. I want us to work on our self-esteem, because no matter who you are, when those words or that phrase, you've been cheated on, I've cheated, I stepped out, oh, you cheated. When those phrases happen, it does something to your brain that causes it to glitch. Because one, no, you didn't say that. Two, who the hell you talking to? Three, oh my God, what about my health? Four, oh my God, what about our family? Five, oh my God, what about the vows that you spoke about, right? Sometimes it's, oh my God, I've really trusted your ass. I've really looked past your potential and stayed when I knew damn well I shouldn't have. So when we're talking about infidelity, I want us to remember that we aren't just talking about like somebody who just went out and cheated and then that's it. That's, yes, that in a very logical conversation, yes, that's it. Somebody went out, cheated, came back, you found out, you dealt with it, the end. But we're going to talk about the meat and potatoes of what you go through and how you heal from that. And I speak from a very personal place because, baby, I was at the bottom of a mountain and it was raining. And every time I thought I caught my footing, it would just pour even more. And I had to really learn how to not only rebuild myself, but I was working on different levels of maturity within myself that I had to really deal with. It wasn't just me at 40, me at 29. Like, it wasn't just me. It was all of these different levels that I had to learn to heal, because when you are a person who've had to deal with your trust being broken on multiple occasions, not even by the same person, you stop healing at different points in your life, right? You stop because a new factor stepped in that caused more pain. A new interrupter came in and knocked down all the cards that you rebuilt to help you find that healing. And when we're talking from an advocate standpoint, it's like no matter how much resources that you have, you can read as much as you can. If you don't ever get to talk about what you're going through, if you don't ever have a chance to say, what the fuck? If you don't ever have a space when you can scream why, if you don't ever have a place when you can be like, I don't need this shit, like, you have to understand the different nuances of infidelity. It's not just somebody cheated on me. It's I put my mind, body, and soul into this relationship and was betrayed. It's the notion that I did everything I could to avoid this from happening, and it still happened. And what do you do from that, right? How do you heal from moment one? First, you acknowledge every emotion that you have. Every emotion that you have is very valid. Now, every action that you take, very different. Because I cannot go through a course with you from jail. It's not going to work out for us in the way that we think it would. I mean, I would love to help you out through your different stages of growth, but I need you to be on the other side of the bars so that we can talk about it, right? And one of the big things that I wanted to address, even with delving into infidelity, recovery, and relationship rebuilding, was that when we're talking about infidelity, betrayal, cheating, we really have to understand that everybody is not going to feel the same way. Everybody is not going to communicate the same way. Everybody isn't going to heal the same way. Everybody isn't going to respond the same way. And sometimes if you have 1, 2, or 3 of the same factors, that third, fourth, fifth, sixth way that you respond to it can be so different. And it really is so important to understand that different cultures, different social circles, different emotional contexts that we deal with throughout our lives plays such a huge role in how we perceive infidelity and how we receive the message that we were cheated on or betrayed. It changes the nuances and how you see things when you are deeply seeped in religion. And if you grew up in a family where the partner cheated on multiple occasions and disrespected the household, it changes everything when the person who cheated marries the person they cheated with, and now you have to interact with them, right? Because maybe you have children. Maybe you're trying to figure out a way to separate your finances. You're trying to figure out a way to get out of that job that maybe y'all work together. You're trying to figure out ways to keep some of the friends that you guys collected to, during that relationship. And I don't want us to just look at infidelity as infidelity. I need us to look at infidelity through different fonts, different colors. I need us to look at infidelity through different animations, different actions. I need us to understand that there will always be a bold and italic. There will always be an underline, a double strike within the conversation of infidelity. It is never just, oh, so you cheated, next. It's no. Even if you say fuck this and you walk out that door today, this very minute, there are still parts of you that will have to heal so that that broken part of you does not accept another person who displays the actions of the person that you were with who cheated on you. And it's such an emotional conversation. It's such an intricate conversation. It's such a deeply wounded, like it's rooted in some deep undisciplined wounds, right? And we aren't even throughout this conversation, I want us to really understand that the facts within the infidelity don't even fucking count right now. Because the truth is that they fucking cheated. All right? Period. They betrayed your trust. Period. They hid it because they knew that if they told you, there would be consequences. Period. They did not give you the option to get out. Period. Right? So who it was with, how it happened, how long it happened, all of those things are secondary to the fact that it happened. So I don't want us to get caught in this conversation of why right now, because the why addressed to the other person doesn't count anymore. Because no matter what they say to you, until you really work on trusting yourself, hearing yourself, understanding yourself, not putting yourself down, not being disrespectful to yourself, and being very honest with yourself on what your boundaries are, what your rules are, what your emotional intelligence level is, how you deal with anger, how you deal with depression, how you deal with denial, how you deal with bargaining. Like, everything else is just going to feel like bullshit. Every conversation you have, you're going to want to delve deeper into the conversation. You're going to want to make more of what this conversation should be, because you're going to keep being stuck on the why. Why did you do this to me? How could you do this to me? When did you do this to me? Where did you do this to me? Who did you do this to me with? And the bottom line is that the infidelity happened. The betrayal happened. And everything after that is the secondary level of problems, right? Because you have to deal with the initial reaction to the phrase, I cheated on you, right? And especially if you're with somebody who does not show remorse, somebody who does not feel like they did anything wrong, someone who wants to blame you for their lack of responsibility, for their lack of control, right? And that part will drag you down. That part of trying to raise a person will drag you through the mud. It will deflect from any kind of healing that you have. You will spend 2, 3, 4, 5, 12 years really trying to find out why and never working on yourself. And then getting to a point where you're like, fuck it, I'm going to work on myself. But feeling like you're so behind the ball because healing doesn't have a period, right? Healing continues for your whole life. And nobody gets to tell you how to grieve, how to heal, and when to grow at all. You get to tell yourself how you want to do that. You get to dictate how soon you want to start working on it, how long you want it to drag out. But you also have to understand that there are consequences to not really dealing with, understanding, comprehending, and really delving deep into yourself to deal with the emotional, physical, and spiritual trauma that you have just undergone, right? So when I talk about infidelity, I don't just want to talk about infidelity from some like, and then you was cheated on, and then I want you to just forget about it because you can move on and you can find somebody. We're not finding anybody right now. We're finding us, all right? I'm not working on your marriage. I'm working on you. I'm not working on a new relationship. I'm working on you. I'm walking with you so I can help you rebuild you. I'm walking with you so I can help you recreate you. I'm walking with you so I can help reinstitute your spirituality, your emotional health, your emotional well-being, your physical self, the trust that you're looking for, your intellectual self, and your financial self back into you. I'm feeding into you because you are the most important part of this whole atom, this nucleus that we're looking at, right? When it comes to repairing who we are and what it looks like to go through infidelity and come out on the other side a more fulfilled person, to learn the lessons that you needed to learn, to build yourself up so that if you ever find yourself in a situation again, it does not knock the full foundation from under you. It does not knock you to your knees. It does not have you considering not being here on this earth. And it does not take away your God-given right to be a happy, joyful, peaceful, calm, considerate, and loving person to yourself, giving yourself patience and grace to grow, to fail forward, because we're not falling back, babes. That's not what we're working on. We're failing forward, because even if you decide to stay within a relationship that had infidelity, that is a new relationship from the time you find out moving forward. You will take none of the old things because none of those things worked out. You have to learn how to build a new foundation for yourself. And then you invite people onto that foundation to see if it's sturdy. And if any of those people crack that foundation, they are thrown off the damn island. That's the way it works. Now, it does not have to work that way in your household. I promise you. I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm just telling you that your foundation that you're building, this new one, you want this shit to be triple concrete. You want to make sure that you have metal inside of the concrete. You want reinforcements in that concrete. That all has to do with boundaries, confidence, self-esteem, learning to trust yourself, trusting the thoughts that are in you, understanding your emotions. What does conversations sound like coming out of your mouth? How am I communicating with myself? How am I communicating with other people? Do I want to communicate with these other people? Who am I allowing to feed my mind, my soul, my body, my spirit? Who am I allowing to come in and pillage off of my mind, my body, my spirit, my soul? Who am I allowing to do that? And am I the person that's putting myself in the victim's place over and over again to get this attention? Or do I have things that I haven't healed about myself that I really need to work on so that I don't wind up in this space again? You understand? So that's what we're talking about. That's where we're coming from when we're talking about these topics, because I know that these topics can be so overwhelming. These topics can be so disappointing. These can be so depressing. It can feel so emotionally charged because jail can feel like an option when you go through things like this. It really can. I'm laughing, but it's because sometimes you gotta laugh so you don't mess somebody's full life up, right? Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me that considered jail for for 2 to 3 business seconds. I'm like, So that's what we're doing. That's what we're focusing on. That's how we are really tackling these conversations around infidelity, right? I'm creating a course for us to really delve into. I want us to really learn how to rebuild ourselves, to trust ourselves, to understand ourselves, to comprehend our communication skills, to comprehend what boundaries really feel like for us and other people, to find more emotional connection with ourselves so that when we start connecting with these different spirits around us, we feel, we understand, we listen to our intuition. We hear intuition going, no, not this time. And we don't go, but I can fix the broken puppy. Because stop fixing shit, okay? Fix you first. And then you won't want to fix so many other things. I promise you. So I want us to remember that infidelity can really shake up the very foundation of our emotional health. It can leave deep-seated wounds. And being a woman of color, a Black woman, somebody who is in the LGBTQ community, the trauma of betrayal can really intersect all of these different cultural challenges. And I don't want to undermine that, right? I want to really address that particular side of infidelity, because we only see infidelity from the people that are within the 5 mile radius of us, unless we only see it on television or reality shows. Maybe we read about it in a book. But when you go through it yourself, there are all of these questions that go through your head, again, based off culture, based off of the historical way that you handle situations within your culture, within your community, within your race, within your nationality, within your ethnicity, within your gender, within your sexuality, right? All of these things are so fluid. And I want us to make sure that we are really taking that into consideration as we explore these topics of infidelity and betrayal. I don't want us to have this one size fit all or this 1D, 2D version of what infidelity is, because it's so different in so many different spaces. And when you add in that and any kind of domestic disputes, domestic violence, be it physical, emotional, or verbal, psychological, or financial, very different, right? So we are, as advocates who are trying to figure out ways to help ourselves and the people that we love, because that is my main base. I want us to be able to articulate our feelings, wants, needs, and desires so that we can better advocate for ourselves and the people around us that we care for. And in order to do that, we need to make sure that we are validating our experiences. We are validating other people's experiences. We are giving each other space to process our emotions without judgment, without cattiness, without anybody's preconceived notions of what you should do based off of what they did. Because I'm not coming to anybody based off of what I did. I know that there are things that I did that helped me that may not help the next person. But that's why we have resources, right? And with resources, it allows us to kind of go through what we like, what we don't like, what we might consider, things we will never ever consider. And then we get to decide how we want to rebuild our lives brick by brick, mortar by mortar, so that it looks like, it feels like it is so much more us than it is anybody else. And I think that that's the standpoint that I'm coming from. So every time I do a video about infidelity, I want to make sure that I leave us with some resources, right? So right now I'm building a course. The course that I'm building, I'll let you guys know once it's ready. It'll probably be ready around November, December, because I want to make sure that I am absolutely giving you guys the best course that I can to help with these difficult conversations, these difficult topics. I want to make sure that I'm giving you tools, resources, exercises, calls to action that we can really work on. Because at the end of the course, I want you to know that you can trust yourself. I want you to know that you can rebuild your self-esteem. I want to help you rebuild your life. We're going to walk through this together. This isn't a me thing. This isn't a you thing. This is a we thing. And together, we're going to learn how to embrace grief, learn how to embrace joy, learn how to find peace and calm, understand what our communication styles look like, understand what our emotional styles are, understand what it's like when we are comprehending what's being said versus listening to respond. Two different places. Are we working from an offensive end or a defensive end? Offensive, we're working on ourselves so that we can be better people for us, so that we can mimic how we want people to treat us. Defensive, we're taking what they gave us and now we're responding from a place of disdain, a mistrust, or maybe we like some things but we want to change something else, and it's really hard to change on the defensive side. It's way better to change from the offensive side. So two things that I want us to consider, maybe either purchasing. I have no sponsorship in any of these. Two things that we might want to consider purchasing, or just really taking a moment to read an article, or even find podcasts. But today we're going to do one book and we're going to do one article. So the first book that we're going to think about purchasing and or downloading will be a book called Black Women's Guide to Healing from Infidelity by Dr. Tara Harris. It offers culturally sensitive insight for Black women navigating betrayal. And then they have articles that we can also look at that won't cost us any money. The Emotional Toll of Infidelity on Black Women by The Root explores the intersection of culture, mental health, and betrayal trauma. I'm looking at these resources the same way you're looking at these resources, because when it comes to healing, you have to have multiple disciplines, multiple facets, multiple understanding, and a deep-seated deep understanding of what you're trying to accomplish, right? And I want us to make sure that we aren't just looking at our trauma from a victim standpoint, because you survived this. You're going to learn how to thrive through this. And it doesn't feel like it now because there's so many questions. There's so much doubt. There's so much misunderstanding. And I promise you that 55% of what you're feeling is the mistrust that you have with yourself, with your heart. Because you'll say, no, I trusted myself. I didn't do it. But then you'll have those nights where you sit down and be like, but I trusted that person. I put my trust in that other person. And why did I do that? Why would the person I picked do that to me? That's why we're working on trust for ourselves. Because when you start asking why and then making we statements and you statements, you will never get the answers that you want. But when you start making I statements, me statements, things that you can control and understand and you can build on and heal from. So that's what we're working on. I know I gave you a lot in this video, but I really want to continue to have these conversations so that we can open up and understand each other, so that we can build trust with each other, because you don't want to take a course from somebody who doesn't understand it. I'm not selling you a bed of roses. Look, I don't like fresh cut grass. It gives my eyeballs the itchies. I'm not trying to sell you a fluffy dress. I'm not trying to sell you ideals on being inside a relationship or not being in a relationship, but I am selling you, okay? I'm selling you the idea of you rebuilding, recreating, rediscovering, and understanding who you are, because I had to do that, because without that, I wouldn't be here. I would have been a broken down, lost person. My soul would not have understood where I'm coming from. So that's why I'm so passionate about this. I don't feel like anything else is needed once you recover. Because once you work on really recovering from what you've gone through, you will so understand how important you are to this world and what you bring to it, and why you deserve to have the best, healthiest, happiest, content, soft, hard, aggressive, passive, giggly life that you deserve. It doesn't matter what you look like, where you come from, what's going on. I can only speak from the cultural standpoints that I'm talking about, because all of those things have affected me, right? And I try to speak from an I statement versus a we statement, because I don't want to ever make you feel like what you went through was less than or different than what I went through, and you don't have a chance to heal from that, because you do. But I can speak from my standpoint of things, and then we can connect through those things. And remember, we're going to be talking about a broad spectrum of topics under infidelity, because infidelity happened, right? But everything else, we get to decide how we want it to play out. And that is so important. Thank you guys so much. Please like, share, respond, send me any messages. You can reach me at lovely, Loveli, at Lovely Esteem, LovelyEsteem.com. You can go to my website and sign up for the upcoming newsletters that I'm going to be sending out. I also do a blog. You can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, all under lovelyesteem.com, LovelyEsteem. My goal is to make sure that we thrive, right? Because the infidelity happened, but you still get to live. You still get to love yourself. You still get to be this full rounded person. You still get to laugh and joke and hang out with friends. You still get to go to the store. You still get to read. You still get to educate yourself. You still get to love and appreciate your religious space. You still get to embrace your spirituality. You still get to embrace your mental health. You get to do all of these different things. Infidelity don't stop no goddamn show. It might put a pause on it, don't get me wrong, but it don't stop no show. You still going to live. So we're going to live through this whole thing. We aren't going to stop living. It's what we're not going to do, right? Because even though it feels like a part of you died, a lot of you is awakening right now. And that's the part that we're going to work on. So I'll talk to you guys soon.